This man is only ever accompanied by one piece of music. You'll understand what I mean when I say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barry Norman.
First, with news of the latest crop of cinema releases, here's Barry Norman.
Good evening. We begin in the post-apocalyptic world of Mad Max, alias Mel Gibson. As robbed of all his possessions, he makes his way across the Australian desert to the sanctuary of Bartertown. This, as he later remarks, and I don't feel he's overstating the case at all, is a sleaze pit, run above ground at least by Tina Turner, tastily clad in body-hugging, leg-revealing chainmail.
Congratulations. You're the first to survive the audition.
Miss Turner does splendidly in her first film role, though we don't see enough of her. Actually, we see quite a lot of her, but not often enough. And Mr. Gibson gives an impressive but laid-back performance, which rather belies the first half of the film's title. Not so much Mad Max as Slightly Cheesed-Off Max. On the other hand, a film called Slightly Cheesed-Off Max Beyond Thunderdome probably wouldn't have a lot of grabbing power. But for the real family entertainment, it's most sublime. You'll have to wait till after Christmas, when Star Wars opens in London. Even by the standards of Hollywood, a place where nothing succeeds like excess, Star Wars is a phenomenon. Now, I visited the unit when it was filming recently in Rio de Janeiro. A fraught time, actually, because poor Mr. Moore was suffering painfully from a kidney stone. Still, all's well that ends well. And one morning, as the assembled press of the world was waiting to be transported up Sugarloaf Mountain in a cable car, a publicity man stepped gravely forward and said, in suitably solemn tones, "Raja passed his stone last night." Lovelorn vampire of uncertain age, largely, though not necessarily nocturnal, interested in blood sports, seeks sympathetic, like-minded female to share Transylvania Castle and eternity.
Do not fear me.
Lovely shades of this. The question most people are likely to ask is not, is it any good, but should it have been made at all? Well, as to that, I imagine the sun would still have risen and set if the film had never existed. And I dare say John Profumo, the erstwhile Secretary of State for War, whose political career ended in disgrace because of an affair with the good-time girl Christine Keeler, would be a much happier man if we could all do him the inestimable favour of quietly forgetting the whole sordid business.
First of all, I was kicked out of the Boy Scouts as a kid. We should all reveal that right now.
You'll no doubt be delighted to know that in a recent poll, I think it was 62% of men and 56% of women preferred you as James Bond.
Robinson comes back with a right on the nose. Lamar skies him across the ring. A left and a right to the head. A hard left hand to the body. And Robinson is driven out of the ring.
Consolation from what Harvey Keitel said when he didn't get the Oscar for Goodfellas, and that is that maybe, he said, maybe Marty got what he deserved, which is exclusion from the ranks of the mediocre.
Get out of the way! This is not your business! You want to get hurt?
Well, what do you say, son? Pay him? Why, where is he? Pay him. Yeah, pay him.
How many films have you seen?
Oh, I don't know. It's terrible. It's just too many.
Connery and I spent the entire journey sitting on the floor of the third-class compartment. And on the way, just to make conversation, I said, "What are you doing next, Sean?" He said, "Oh, I'm playing James Bond." And then rather defensively, he added, "Well, it's a job." What a man.
Getting older hasn't harmed Paul Newman very deeply, has it, for instance?
Well, Paul is senile.
He is
gone.
yeah.
Gone.
I've heard that.
He's completely gone. It's very sad. He looks... Don't try to talk to him.
You're very self-deprecating about your acting. Why is that defensive?
Yes, it's defensive. I always try to say it before anybody else does.
But if you didn't say it, perhaps nobody else would.
I never thought of that. Maybe I started the wrong way.
Are filmmakers confusing freedom with license? Are films becoming increasingly violent? Well, yes, I think they are, but how much this is a cause for concern depends, as it always has done, on the individual. My own view is that gratuitous violence, violence used purely for titillation, as it is in most formula thrillers, is unpleasant and a sign of both moral bankruptcy and a lack of imagination. But it would be a grave mistake to lump pictures like Unforgiven, Reservoir Dogs and Man Bites Dog in with silly and unpleasant nonsense like that. In Unforgiven, for example, it's perfectly clear that killing people does something deeply harmful to the killer as well as the killed. In Reservoir Dogs, there is no doubt at all that being shot or tortured hurts. There's the argument that any kind of violence on screen might disturb the young and cause the mentally unbalanced to go out and commit violence themselves. It's a theory that merits consideration, but is, I think, ultimately untenable. If art, in any medium, only concerned itself with what would be harmless to the young or the mentally disturbed, we'd all be reading Beatrix Potter.